Anybody remember that song? That's right. Rescue Me, Fontella Bass, 1965. A golden oldie. Well, to most people, it's a golden oldie. Except for the woman I married. To them, it's the national anthem. Maybe it's the white charger. Maybe it's the suit of armor. Maybe it's the royal title. I don't know. But what I do know is that for some reason, the only kind of women I seem to attract are women with a desperate need to be rescued. If only I can save them from whatever hell they've been forced into, they're convinced life will be wonderful. There's been a lot of women in my life. I don't deny it. I love women. I don't trust any man who doesn't love women. My mistake is in marrying them. I'll give you a quick example. My first wife, Rapunzel. Great name, isn't it? Rapunzel. You don't run into many girls these days named Rapunzel. A lot of Britneys and Taylors and Stephanies, but no Rapunzels. I used to love just saying her name. Rapunzel. When I first met her, she'd been locked away in a tower by her mother. That should have been my first clue. I mean, you have to wonder about a woman who's been locked away in a tower by her own mother. But she begged me to rescue her. She said she would love me forever if only I'd free her from that tower. Something told me not to get involved. I told her that straight up, out front. I don't want to lie because, I am Prince Charming after all. But that's when Rapunzel let down that hair. Now for all my guys, am I right? There is nothing sexier than when a woman at just the right moment gives her head a shake and unleashes cascades of long flowing hair. With Rapunzel, that moment happened in spades. She shook her head and that thick, gorgeous hair started cascading and it never stopped. All I could think about was how that hair is going to look out spread over my pillow. So what's the first thing she does after I do's? She cuts it. It's too long. It's not practical. It interferes with my backhand. I thought you cared about me. You only cared about my hair. My mother was right about you. Before the marriage even got going, it was over. That's when I met Snow White. I went for a ride in the woods one day, cleared my mind, and there she was. Snow White. If ever a woman was misnamed, it was my second wife. The woman lived with 7 guys who worked in the mine for God's sake. Trust me, cooking and cleaning wasn't the only service she provided. Before she showed up, Happy was just called Phil. Of course, I didn't know any of that at the time. She told me she was only there because of her mother or stepmother. I could never get that relationship straight. But she was jealous of her beauty. Do you see a trend developing here? Beautiful girl, crazy, jealous, vindictive mother. But hey, if only I would rescue her from that life of servitude, our life would be golden together and I would be in heaven. I was determined not to go rushing in. Once burned and all that, but she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. I mean, on a scale of 1 through 10, she was at least a 17. So I promised her that she would never have to cook and clean again. And boy, did she take my word for it. She never cooked or cleaned or got out of bed for that matter. As I later learned, the mother didn't banish her. She kicked her lazy ass out the house. This brings me to my last wife, and I do mean my last wife. The doctors told me she had a sleeping disorder. They could have pinpointed that because although she later told me in a private setting that her mother had placed a curse on her. See what I mean by trend? I heard the wicked stepmother routine before and I wasn't buying it. when she looked deep into my eyes and told me that I was the only man in the world who could make her eternally happy, well, from where I was sitting, there was no way that face and that body possibly tell a lie. Anyway, you know the rest. I won't go into the ugly details, but let's just say that when we finally did sleep together, she actually slept.